Watch, where assholes talk cartoons happily. Watching the past to entertain your ass. Case number 74, the comically overused pun show.
I got it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to WatchBots. This is Ben, and I am the sheriff around these here parts. I'm joined by Internet Scofflaw, Shaylin.
Hello.
And Officer Dave.
Reporting for duty, sir. I'm here to serve and protect.
Serve and protect what exactly? The Internet?
The upstanding listeners.
You weren't expecting that hot follow-up, and that's okay.
No, I wasn't. It's serve and protect the sanctity of these old cartoons.
That's fair. This was very nearly the episode that wasn't. This has just been a complete technical clusterfuck for the last week. I wasn't even going to blame the computer on you. We don't need to revisit that here, but we're on a backup.
What happened?
No, no need to revisit it. We're on a backup computer, and so that required setting like all the hardware up and the software, but we got all that set up last night. That was fine.
It's because I accidentally dumped a beer on Ben's laptop. Not dumped, knocked over into.
Not accidentally, on purpose.
It was definitely by accident.
On purpose. She didn't like that I showed up my Gundam guy on a Zoom meeting.
So I was on the other end of that Zoom call, and I just the last thing we saw before the screen went black on your part was your face, Ben. It was halved by the camera, so it's just half of your face, and your one eye is just wild with fear. And there was some audio like, what the, oh God, and then it just went black. So we're like, what the fuck just happened?
Was it me screaming, fucking damn it?
No,
that's definitely what I screamed.
Didn't hear that one.
There was some crackling, a little popping. So that computer is, as the Undertaker would say, resting in peace. But I was okay with it. Like, there's stimulus money coming. I have not been laid off yet. Knock on wood.
I'm so sorry.
So we're working on that, but we're working on a backup computer, and that's okay. But then tonight, I went to set up the mixer, and I plugged the thing in. I flicked the switch, and nothing happened. And I said, oh, that sucks. It was working last night. So I unplugged it. So I took the plug out of the power strip. I held it up. I noticed that there was a little fraying like under the box. Like you could see some of the wire sticking out. Then all of a sudden, this motherfucker's shooting sparks at me.
What?
It was like a half inch from my thumb. So I went, oh, fuck. And I dropped it. And then thought, well, now what are we going to do? Because now I can't power up the mixer. Well, from a past spill, we have a backup, right? Same company, smaller thing, worked out okay. I said, okay, we can adapt. We can set this up. But then that mixer is powered by a USB-C, which is like the smaller, skinnier USB-C. Well, guess what the backup computer doesn't have? A USB-C port. So now Shaylin and I are wandering the house looking for power adapters. My kingdom for a power adapter.
Searching for that dongle.
And eventually we found one from an old wireless router. So we're on a backup computer on a backup power adapter. So I'm fully expecting this to like explode halfway through, or I don't know, like the microphones to just start breathing fire. But we're here.
I've only seen plugs and shit like actually spark, you know, like pyrotechnic spark. Like maybe like 2 or 3 times in my life. You've seen it like a handful of times just through the duration of this podcast.
It's a dangerous medium.
It's upsetting to me. I don't know. What are you doing over there? What, it's just like power strips plugged into power strips.
No, not even.
Well, I mean, what I like to do when Ben goes to bed at night is unplug everything and chew on the wires and then plug
Just
them all
fray
back
them
in.
just a little teeny bit.
You just take a.
I get a thrill from it.
Just take a plastic knife and just like slowly, lightly fray the cord bit by bit.
They say the most dangerous jobs are high wire walker, telephone pole climber, and comedy podcaster.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It all plays. So I was reading about horse semen as well.
Is this how you fix your soundboard?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I glued the cord together with it. I was reading that a gallon of horse semen from a champion horse can go between $5 and $10 million. And that price figure is astounding, but this is a horrible, disgusting start. I found the idea of a gallon of horse semen to be concerning.
How many times would a horse, and a champion horse for that matter, how many times would it have to ejaculate to make a gallon?
A horse could blow loads, of course. If it were a horse, of course.
Jesus Christ.
It blows from its penis.
Blow a quart.
Shaylin is, I think, doing live internet research. You wouldn't know because she's doing it silent.
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
Please use the incognito browser.
All right. Quora has the best answer I've ever heard. How much semen can a full-grown horse ejaculate, and is it all right to drink?
Mm-hmm.
Well, internet, it says about a cupful per horse per event.
Oh my God. So a cupful, you carry the 3, that's like 16 for a gallon? That's nothing. Does the horse have a refractory period? Can you look that up as well?
Stand by.
So 16 cups, that's like 8 sea biscuits?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, this is more science than I think we're used to. Like, if you're buying a gallon, right? How do you know that it's pure? You know, like, what if you had one good horse and like 7 bunk ones? Wouldn't you doctor it? How would you know?
Because if the horse that comes out, like the baby at the end, has bunk DNA, they can DNA test horses.
But by that point, like, warranty's up, baby. You know,
usually there's an extensive contract involved.
There's no PayPal protection.
Wait. Shit, you speak with such like authority on this. Are you like a horse breeder, or like do you just like read a lot about like horse semen?
I have a family member who does dog breeding occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fascinated by the process, so I asked, and like horses are part of that conversation.
Sure. Anyway, horse semen. Weird stuff. So this is another good segue. You know what else I was thinking about today that I missed during this quarantine? I miss restaurant ice. You know, like...
Speaking of horse semen.
Yeah. You know what else I miss? I miss frosty vanilla milkshake from McDonald's.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know. Like, I've been having a lot of ice in drinks lately because it's getting to be springtime, but it's not as good as restaurant ice. You know, like I can pour a can of Coke into a glass with ice, but it's never as good as when you're getting it from your local McDonald's or your local Burger King.
I like restaurants who use crushed ice.
Sure. Would you say you missed them during the quarantine?
For sure.
Okay. I don't know. It's the little pleasures in life.
I miss
gotta get by.
Going to restaurants. If I could do that would be nice. I'm not sure if I miss the ice though. Unless we're talking like the ice with like the little hole in it, and it's kind of like you can kind of like.
Oh yeah, you can tongue it down.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I don't miss the restaurant. Well, I guess I do a little bit, but I will say last weekend, Shaylin and I got McDonald's delivered, and I had a concern that it was going to be bad, but it was a dream because they do contactless delivery. So they just dropped it at the front door. We brought in this enormous fucking sack of McDonald's, including sodas, took them all out of their containers dutifully, dumped them on plates, gorged it down, and it was great.
It was great for a little while, and then I spent most of the night pooping. You know,
Shaylin, we'll talk about a lot of things on this show, horse semen mainly, but nobody wants to hear about your bowel movements. Come on.
I'm going to pass on McDonald's next time. That's all I'm saying.
Let's put that theory to the test. By the end of this episode, we will be eating a 20-piece McNugget. That is my prediction.
I can't do McNuggets.
You talk about like, you know, the contactless drop off and all of that. Like for somebody that's racked with anxiety, like all of his life, I'm finding that I'm way better being quarantined.
Mm.
Like I am in my element. I don't have to interact with people other than my family. Any interactions we do, we went to visit my parents, and it was all through the door. We were screaming at each other from the porch into the yard. It was great. Like I didn't have to get close to them. We talked a little bit and then we left. It was a delight. Somebody dropped off food and I was like, oh crap, I'm going to have to talk to this person. And they just ran back to their car and drove away. It was, oh my God, I love it so much. When the world gets back to normal, I want to kind of keep that part of it. Like, all right, nobody talk to me, please.
The world's not getting back to normal, Dave.
It'll get back to normal.
We have a new future to forge, and I like the idea of including unspoken agreements with food delivery as part of that bright new future that we can craft ourselves.
Speaking of coronavirus or poopy Shailen, we have another COPS to talk about today. And that is the Central Organization of Police Specialists, also known as C.O.P.S. And this was a Dave pick.
Oh, yeah.
And what's it all about?
I don't know. That's it.
Reassuring.
This was one of the cartoons we mentioned when we first started this show. Like we were both, I think Ben and I were both really excited to talk about C.O.P.S. And
love talking about C.O.P.S.
Loved it. Love talking about C.O.P.S. The people, the live action reality show, and the cartoon. But I was more excited about it because I was a huge fan of the toys. They were great. I remember I had Bowser and Blitzer, the K9 unit, the robot dog. I had Mace, and they all had like cool armor, and they had these awesome cap guns that came with the toys that were fucking sweet. I don't remember much about the cartoon though. What I do remember is my dad coming into the room while I was watching TV and doing his Edward G. Robinson voice. Yeah, this is how it's going to go down, see? And I had no idea what he was doing. And he would say the actor's name, and I'd be like, who? And later I learned it was an actor from like the 40s or 30s. So good timely reference for my father. But yeah, that's my only memory of this cartoon. The toys and my dad's awful impression.
This toys thing outside of the associated media, I think it's an interesting and relatable thing. And we're nothing if not relatable. I was the same way with this particular show. Literally don't think I've ever seen an episode of this until this week, but vividly remember the guy with the Jerry curl and the fucking robot chest and the helicopter. And yeah, like the toys were just good quality Hasbro products.
I learned this week that these toys were based on a cartoon. I only remember the toys in the ads.
Other way around. The cartoon is based off the toys.
Okay.
It's a G.I. Joe situation.
That makes sense. I didn't know there was even a cartoon associated with the toys. Like, I didn't put it together.
Did you guys have other toy lines that you dabbled in as kids where you knew the toys, but you didn't know the stuff with it? Because I could think of like multiple other examples.
I was very boring with toys as a kid. I used pretend food,
Jacob's Ladders,
Lego bricks,
and hoops on sticks.
What, you didn't see the Jacob's Ladder cartoon?
I
awesome.
was really into Cat's Cradle, like legitimately.
All a dream in the end, yeah.
Yeah.
I had like a book of all the different things that you could do with a cat's cradle.
That weird animated sex scene.
Anyway.
Police Academy. So I didn't know about the movies.
Oh man, those handcuffs, hell yeah.
I had Police Academy toys, which were pretty awesome. Also cop related too. But yeah, I didn't see the movies until I was older.
I could think of one TV, one movie related. So the TV is Visionaries. And I couldn't tell you what the show is about, although probably can next week. But the dudes, like,
stay tuned.
They had on these pastel colored suits, and on their chest they had like a Superman shaped crest, but they had holographic birds in them.
Oh, great.
So that was pretty cool. And then the Alec Baldwin movie, The Shadow.
Yes, I was just going to say that.
Yeah, because it had really cool, like, transforming cars.
Yeah.
I think, the entire toy line. Have not seen the movie to this day.
I not only saw the movie, wanted the toys and didn't have them. So between the two of us, we've got it all going. But my great uncle, my mom's uncle, had a really extensive collection of the original radio dramas of the shadow. And so I was like...
Did the cars transform?
They transformed into Jacob sliders.
Uh-huh.
I was very familiar with the storylines and the characters, what I'm telling you. I knew the media, but I didn't have the fun part. That's what I'm saying.
So C.O.P.S. Very similar to G.I. Joe in a lot of ways, right? So Hasbro created the toy line Cops and Crooks. And then they created this show to go alongside with it. And they did this with a few other things. G.I. Joe is the one. I think another place you can see the G.I. Joe DNA is in the sheer number of characters.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Holy shit.
The show had about 65 episodes. I scrolled through the Wikipedia page and counted because I'm a loser. 68 named characters.
Yeah. So it was like an episode for each character.
Yeah, but so many of them appear in the background. Like this episode we watched had a staggering amount of characters in it. And I think I knew the names of 2, maybe 3.
Yeah.
So the guy behind this, the supervisor or whatever, named Bruce Shelley, he performed similar roles on Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, which is the third Sonic cartoon that we didn't discuss.
We probably should.
We probably
Yet.
should. Yeah. People love Sonic the Hedgehog is a
That's
lesson
true.
we learned. And he also did it for Mario Brothers Super Show. But this guy was active as a TV writer from 1967 all the way up to 2003.
Good for
Which is
him.
pretty crazy. I was thinking about the timeline of this show, and I feel like aside from, the G.I. Joe Transformers influence, there's a little bit of RoboCop in with this, right?
Mm-hmm.
RoboCop had
totally.
just come out the year before. I also caught a whiff of Dick Tracy.
I think that's true.
The Dick Tracy movie with Warren Beatty, which is an underrated movie, didn't come out for a couple years after that, but I don't know. Maybe people loved Dick Tracy in 1988. Who the fuck knows?
There was a hint of Dragnet in there. Just the facts,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
kind
yeah.
Well, that's
true. The horn heavy soundtrack, like it was good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it was
Good vibe.
interesting. So the show itself, like most of these, ran for 2 seasons. And a funny note is when it re-aired in syndication and reruns and stuff, they retitled the show to Cyber Cops because between when the show had been on originally and when it went off the air, Fox's Cops came on, like Bad Boys. So I guess they didn't want any confusion or something. Although you would think, I don't know the big realm of copyright law, but this Cops was on the air first.
But this one had dots between the letters.
That's true.
That's where they failed.
When actors register their name in the Screen Actors Guild and have to add a middle initial.
It's true. Well, and actually, we could talk about that in 1 second here. That's an oddly prescient note. I don't necessarily understand the backstory to this show. Basically, the main dude, Bulletproof, was like an FBI agent who went to the city to stop Big Boss, and then he got RoboCopped, and then they had to like replace his torso and his dick with metal.
Weird.
And then he called in like lots of other law enforcement people
From all over the country?
From all over the country to be like this band of super cops. They're the central organization of police specialists, but they also appear to be the only law enforcement officers.
Mhm.
So it's like they're cops and they're also C.O.P.S. It's this weird, I don't know.
I had a lot of questions about the need for the speciality.
What do you mean?
Couldn't the regular police force do this?
No.
Yes.
Regular police didn't have like a fucking fishing line attached to a big handcuff.
That's true, but they had handcuffs.
Not good enough.
Which, if we'll get to the scene, but if the cop were competent in the least,
Yeah.
then
Yeah. Thank you, Shaylin. So I love this show, right? 5 out of 5. Spoiler alert. I can't imagine the cops that the specialists replaced because the specialists are so inept and so bad at their jobs.
Yeah.
The cops they replaced must have just been like people in comas or something like that. Just like actual human vegetables, just like not doing anything. It was amazing to me how stupid these cops were.
Yeah, they were really dumb.
I've watched 4 or 5 episodes of this. It's all good, by the way. The first one I watched was like, oh, maybe like the guy just was kind of stupid and like maybe he's just the stupid one of the group. Nope. They're all pretty terrible at their jobs. And I loved every second of it.
More like DOPS, dunce cops. And then you replace
More like
That's the reboot.
the
More like
OC.
plops.
Coming out summer 2021.
Anyway, so the episode we watched here was The Case of the Baby Bad Guy. And boy, it is a treat. The director is listed on Wikipedia as Richard T. Morrison. Well, I clicked over to Richard T. Morrison, and he's a judge in the U.S. tax court. So I don't think that that's the same guy. More likely, the real director is Rick Morrison, who is an artist and director who started doing stuff with the Teddy Ruxpin cartoon. I feel like that's more likely the right dude.
That seems more likely, but I want to know who thought it would be funny to make that joke and just left it in there quietly, waiting for the judge to find out that like someone messed with his identity, because it's a very funny joke.
I rule this one to be a knee slapper, he would say. The writer is renowned sick fuck Perry Martin, and this was the sick bastard's first writing credit. He did some other cartoons, but he's more known as like a TV and music video documentarian. But all of them have like baby men in them.
He specialized in that.
It's like a theme. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Oh, he wrote the Game Master episode of G.I. Joe.
He also directed that Wayans Brothers movie where he was a little dude. Was that Little Man?
I didn't.
What was the one where he
I
dressed
think
up
it
as a
was
baby?
Little Man.
Oh shit! I think you're right.
With
He
like
directed that CSI episode. The murderer was a baby man.
Spoiler.
Just
He got him.
had a giant crib. Oh, it's creepy.
The episode aired on September 19th, 1988. A better time in the world.
What was
For
going
sure.
on at that time?
A great question. Ooh, what were we seeing? It's
Cops Tech Check.
contextual feeling. Movies were weird that week. So the number one movie in America was a movie in its 10th week. It jumped up from 14th place the week before. The movie is, of course, Tucker, the Man in His Dream.
What is that?
A movie I had never heard of.
Right.
It's a Francis Ford Coppola movie about a dude in the 30s or 40s, or maybe earlier, I don't know, played by Jeff Bridges, who tried to make a car to compete with like Ford and Chevrolet. So it was a biopic, or a biopic, if you will.
Okay.
Why it jumped up from 14th place 2.5 months into its run, I couldn't find any reason for it. The movie was still a box office bomb despite this. It gets weirder because...
How?
Well, the number 2 and 3 movies behind it. Number 2 was A Fish Called Wanda.
What? It was number 2 to a movie that had been out in theaters for 2.5 weeks about an unknown person.
I also would like to make a confession about A Fish Called Wanda. My parents owned the VHS of it, right? But I never watched it, so I thought that it was a movie about a bunch of people and a big fish, because that's what the cover was.
Uh-huh.
Like it said, it starred Wanda.
I always got it confused with The Incredible Mr. Limpet.
Same
Don
idea.
Knotts turns into a fish. I thought it was like a sequel or something.
My only experience with A Fish Called Wanda is I was on family vacation up in Maine.
This is going to be weird.
And every restaurant had a special called The Fish Called Wanda for dinner or lunch or whatever. And at one of the restaurants, I ordered it. Like, I just asked for like fish and chips, and they were like, "Oh, this one's Wanda." And I was so distraught that I only ate my French fries, and my parents were mad.
And then your mom slept with Kevin Kline, and that's where the divorce started.
I wish we'd have more money.
That's where it got weird.
But was he in or out? I don't know.
Haven't seen that movie either.
That movie's great, actually.
Listeners, we want to hear from you. What's your favorite movie where people turn into fish? Hashtag biggest fish in the sea. Hashtag big fish favorite movie. Hashtag big fish. Number 3 movie was Die Hard. So I don't understand.
Wait, Die Hard was number 3.
Yeah.
Behind a movie that had been in the theaters for 14 weeks.
Yeah.
What's the name of this movie again?
Tucker, the Man and His Dream.
Like,
It
did
sounds
someone
so
associated
fake.
with the movie die suddenly and people went as like a tribute or
Perhaps
something?
Tucker himself? I don't know.
That's so odd.
I don't know. 1988 was also a big year in toys. Big year for Micro Machines, which the idea of Micro Machines being big now is very funny because they failed pretty spectacularly. But also starting lineup figures. Did you have starting lineup figures, Dave?
Maybe. What are they?
They were the sports guys.
They were the really useless things that people called toys.
Yeah.
Were those just like they just
stood there.
They didn't move, right? They were just
right.
Little statues. Yes.
And they were posed in the ways that you couldn't use them as action figures either.
Right.
Yeah. But the idea was like you could collect your favorite team or your favorite stars. And like I remember thinking when these things were big, oh, these are the shit. I could have my own Wade Boggs and he's going to stand there and I could play sports stuff. But then like you couldn't do anything with them. And if you look back at them now, like go on Craigslist and type in starting lineup, you'll see 1,000 listings for these things. They look like complete shit. I don't know.
They just look like 3D Tecmo Bowl characters.
Yeah. Like, I don't know if there was like a licensing problem or what, but you look at a line like Cops and Crooks, look at those toys and then
details.
look at like the Larry Bird starting lineup figure. And it just looks like my 4-year-old carved him out of clay. Like it looks like complete shit. I mean, my 4-year-old's talented, but he's not a professional.
When I was little, I wasn't very big into sports. I didn't probably get into them until like late 90s or so. But my mom got me a bunch, like maybe hoping that I would get into sports for whatever reason. So I had like a Bo Jackson one, I believe. And like there was like another random football player. And I didn't know what to do with them because one, I didn't really watch football or baseball or anything. And two, like they didn't move. They didn't fucking move. So like they were just on my nightstand. Like, I guess I like sports now.
And look at you now.
Yeah.
Big old sport boy.
Yeah. Love the athletic stuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's get into the show. There's a lot of parts to the opening theme. We may not listen to the full minute plus. We might though, because it's kind of bitching. Here we go.
C.O.P.S. Central Organization of Police Specialists. Fighting crime in a future time. Protecting Empire City from Big Boss and his gang of crooks.
Bored of it. I really like the song and it sets up a lot of things about the show right away, right? There's that everybody has like weird appendages. Like there's a dude with Tommy guns coming out of his chest. There's this weird mix of like 1940s Chicago film noir style looking people. Like some of them are wearing like fucking knickerbockers mixed with laser guns and stuff. It's this crazy, bizarre aesthetic.
They can't decide what time frame they're living in. So instead of making a choice, they just threw it all in a bucket and mixed it together.
Counterpoint. They are fighting crime in a future time.
Okay, the fashion, they couldn't decide.
Okay. That's reasonable.
One of my and it's 2020. The year is 2020, which is delightful because
everybody's coughing.
Yeah, we're
It was weird that all of the characters had their faces obscured behind surgical masks.
Yeah, and it was strange that they had a plot about Brian Dennehy dying. I don't know. It's strange. He passed away today.
Very topical. Along with WWE legend Howard Finkel.
Yes. Oh, moment of silence.
If this episode had gone down the tubes, we would have had a 30-minute episode just Fink memories. What's your favorite Howard Finkel call?
You remember the time he announced the winner? That's good.
And then the opening song ends with Bulletproof, who's like the chief of police. He pulls down his sunglasses and he does a wink. It's like a reverse CSI Miami sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then we open up with like Dragnet style narration. So you see a case file, you're flipping through the folder, and you get a little of this.
The case of the baby bad guy. Cops File 21813. There's an old saying, good things come in small packages. Well, sometimes bad things come in small packages too. We learned that lesson the hard way on one of our toughest jewel robbery cases ever.
They learned that lesson the hard way.
The hard way.
They couldn't have guessed that sometimes a criminal could be not large.
I could spend conservatively an hour just talking about this 20 seconds of audio from Bulletproof's insane, like, weird voice.
You'll be shocked to learn that the majority of his acting credits are just him narrating radios.
What
That's all
are
I
you
got.
talking
What?
about, Shaylin? I don't understand. This sounds just like a guy who would be a cop.
To them immediately making these weird tall and small puns.
Oh,
to
man,
him,
is the first of like 1,000.
don't worry, I have a count. We'll get to it at the end. But it is the central conceit of the episode is making tall and small puns. To him referring to one of their toughest jewel robberies ever. And it's like, what was there, like a spate of like separate jewel robberies? Like, what is going on? It's a really weird and fucked up city. We have to fight organized crime, but also jewel robberies.
Sure. It's like the Batman thing.
It's like when you start off as a beat cop, right? Sometimes you go to like narcotics. Sometimes you go to vice. Sometimes you go to homicide, rough area. Sometimes you go special victims. Sometimes you go jewel robberies. You know, they're all separate but equal. You know what I mean?
Which is not to be confused with the museum heist team. Those are separate.
That's right. Yeah. Did you ever play that Clue that was about museum heists? Like it was a spinoff?
I did not. Did you, Dave?
Sounds boring. No.
No, it was awesome. Somebody was like, you get to be a robber and you get to like rob paintings. And that fucking dumb shit Colonel Mustard tried to catch you. He couldn't do it though. I do. Never mind. I'm not going down this road. It was a several minute long story about how I learned about ginger beer through Clue, and I just don't think it's worth it. I don't think it's worth it.
Shaylin, you're getting us off the rails. Wait, no, sorry, that was
That was Ben this time.
Yeah,
So-
but I hit the pause
muscle.
button.
muscle memory there.
I said time out, and I moved backwards. So there's a delivery guy who's driving around, and I wanted to know more about the delivery guy because he was driving in a car that said Lummies on it.
Mhm.
I want to know what the story of Lummies is. Is it like a UPS? Is it just like a last mile service? What's the deal with Lummies?
Lummies is 2020's latest, Instacart, right? Or instant delivery service. It's going door to door, just contactless delivery and drop off. That's Lummies, baby. Lummies.
If
Not
you
for
know, hit us up.
Lummies.
Hashtag yummy lummy. So he brings a cartoonishly large package into like a jewelry store, I guess.
But it's not just a package. It's like a like the classic like birthday gift like
box. Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be like if you wrapped up like a Kia Sorento and you put a bow on it, but instead of just like wrapping the car, you put the car in a box. That's how fucking big this box
It's
was.
like that
a big box.
romantic Lexus holiday event commercials that you get every Christmas. And your wife watches the commercial and she looks at you and she's just like, why can't you do that for me? And then everything gets really sad and you go upstairs, you take a bath and you consider opening a vein.
I always watch those ads aghast. Like, this person in your life made a major financial decision without your consent, and now you have to pay a humongous bill. But I put a bow on it.
Yeah, it's sitcoms like, I bought you a horse. Oh, awesome. Thanks. You motherfucker, you bought that kid a horse?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
In this case, the gift isn't a car or a horse.
But it is something that will leave you aghast.
It's a small man. It's not just any small man. It's the antagonist. It's a small guy. Let's meet him.
All right, Four Eyes, open your mouth.
Okay, so
Small guy.
is dressed like he's Elliot Ness. So he has on a double-breasted trench coat in like a gangster hat.
He's so cute.
And
he's so cute. He's so
he-
adorable.
I'm going to estimate his height at about 18 inches, but he has the head and face of like Clark Kent.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's fucking nightmarish. It's weird as shit.
Yep.
He's wearing those little like 18-month size clothes. It's so cute.
I
Little guy in his little suit.
spent the rest of the episode wondering, like, are they going to explain what the deal with Small Guy is, right? Because Bulletproof got fucked up, so they RoboCopped him. It doesn't make sense with modern science, but at least they kind of explain it. And I was like, did Small Guy get like in front of a shrinking ray or something? But no, he's just a small man.
Maybe he has dwarfism.
Maybe, but
Perhaps.
I think he's even smaller than that. He's like Tom Thumb sized.
Yeah. Tom Thumb was a person.
And I wanted to know the etymology behind small guy. Like what, you know what I mean? Like what nationality is small guy? Or is that an alias?
I think it's Welsh.
I would go with Welsh. I believe that.
Lilliputian.
But not his head, weirdly.
Yeah, that's the giant place, which I can't remember right now.
He's got a big old melon on him.
Yeah.
I like the idea that one of his parents was Lilliputian, so he only got half those genetics.
I want to talk more about his genetics, but let's put a pin in it because I have some serious questions here. So he's robbing the jewel store, and all of a sudden, Long Arm is there, and fucking Officer Long Arm is the only cop in the sector. And again, I was like, so is he like the only super cop there, or is he the only law enforcement officer? It's tough to tell when they're called cops in both instances, but
Right.
he's on his way. He's going to the jewel store. Small guy gets the bag of jewels and he pulls a gun on the manager. And I think they have like laser pistols here, but this thing looks like, well, it would kill you either way. So it's menacing. The fact that it's a laser is sort of meaningless.
This show is hyper violent.
Oh, yeah.
Even the toys.
Shockingly so.
Yeah. Oh, God. My heart, I can't take it.
Can't watch it.
Like, even the toys are extremely violent. You've got they actually come with a cap gun. It's crazy. G.I. Joe had they just had the fake gun, but they didn't fire anything, right? And like the lasers on their jets or whatever, maybe they launched like plastic, like neon colored missiles. Not these ones. These are real as fuck.
My mom wouldn't let me have cap guns.
Really? Is that why you're half a man now?
Half is generous. Yeah. But I could have like the He-Man sword, and when we went to Disney World, I was allowed to get like a fake gun from Pirates of the Caribbean. They took it at the airport, by the way.
Did you get it back?
No. If I did that now, I'd just be arrested, but I couldn't have cap guns. It was not allowed.
I wasn't allowed to have any toy guns, but I used a lot of Nerf guns at my friend Marty's house, so it balanced out.
Marty!
Great Scott!
Shout out, Marty. So anyway, so it looks like he's going to kill this jewel clerk, but the thing about small guy, he's small, and it helps because he has the heart of a trickster leprechaun figure. Trickster-con.
In case you're wondering, the name's Small Guy. Say, been a pleasure doing business with you.
See, it was a water pistol, so he blasted him with a water pistol.
It's a good joke.
It's funny. But then Long Arm meets him outside.
He's a kid. He's like a kid.
Sort of. But he's not. Or is he? Is he a child?
I don't know.
No.
Maybe he's Benjamin Button.
I'm Benjamin Button, sure.
Benjamin Button.
Movie sucked.
The Curious Case of Small Guy.
It is curious.
It is curious.
And it is a case.
So
Bulletproof?
Long Arm shows up, right?
That's me.
And
Hardest case I ever solved.
say what you will about Long Arm.
He's not smart.
He's not smart, but he is quippy.
I've got a small jail cell I want you to try on for size.
Oh, yeah, Blackfoot.
And it's like, fuck you, pal. Like, your fucking name is Long Arm. Like, don't be fucking making small jokes, Long Arm.
Also,
You know why they call him Long Arm?
Of the law.
He just flopped it out on the table. Constantly.
why is he
He got me too.
jeering
2 years later.
at this small criminal and making jokes
Mainframe suit him.
instead of actually handcuffing him and arresting him?
Because he's underestimating him because of his size.
He's worse than a Bond villain explaining his plans.
And it's
Sounds
weird
like he gave him the
because
short shrift.
this was 40 years after The Empire Strikes Back. So people knew about Yoda, you know, that he was the real deal. Long Arm,
40 years.
not the best. So small guy pulls his hat down and then they're running away. And then you have like a 6-minute foot chase scene. And it had good music, which I'll play here in a second. But just the aesthetics of the show are crazy. So they run by a woman who's carrying like the classic grocery bag with like the baguette and stuff. And then they run by people that are in like old timey trench coats And then there's just a dude who's wearing a crew neck sweatshirt, but it's weird. Here's the music. It's not Michael Jackson's Bad.
But it sure is close.
It's close enough.
But it's pretty good.
It's not bad at all.
Ah.
But we don't endorse Michael Jackson on this show.
Creep.
Mm-hmm. So Longarm tries to use his fishing line cuffs to get Small Guy, and they're too big. Like, Small Guy just slips out and he's like, sorry. And then he runs through a fence, and Longarm, he's not fat. I wouldn't say he's fat at all, but he can't make it through the fence because he's a normal sized person, right? And what do they say about cops, Shaylin?
They're out of shape. They love donuts.
That's right.
Boy, I gotta cut down on the donuts.
So
2020 and
Jokes.
cops are still eating donuts. I love it.
that's right. So he can't make it. Now we're back at the station, and you see like the dudes that kind of look like everybody from He-Man, and they kind of look like everybody from G.I. Joe. Like, I swear there's a dude that looks just like Man-at-Arms there.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're watching TV, and they're watching a show called Crime Beat, hosted by the inimitable Whitney Morgan.
Smile, officer. You're on Crime Beat.
I don't know why there's porn music.
Because she's a sexy reporter.
Is that the gig?
I think that's what it's supposed to be.
Okay.
It's like a Murphy Brown introduction to her characterization.
It's the sexy police reality show where you can fap to.
I always enjoy these sort of like side TV and movie like TV shows. There's one in Predator 2. I forget what the name of the show is, but the guy's like an asshole, and he just keeps running into Danny Glover's character, and he keeps getting punched out. But it's just like a show about cops in a city.
Yeah.
But it's not cops. It's not displayed that way. It's like an expose. It's like the current affair.
Yeah, it's a news program. It's like part of
Yeah.
the local news. I like in RoboCop, it's the I'd buy that for $1 guy. Like, it's just like everywhere.
They use the same camera shots too, which is fun, ultra funny because it's a cartoon. So like the shots of Longarm running around and getting his head stuck in the fence, those are the ones you just saw them, but then you see them again.
Right.
It's just like, how would they get that foot anyway?
Maybe it's a COPS stands for like criminally oppressive police state, and then it's just like cameras everywhere.
I'd believe it. I mean, I didn't see a dashboard cam anywhere, but I guess that's a story for another day. So Bulletproof is like, you'll get him, Small Guy. Don't worry about it. And then Bulletproof walks around, and he's staggering around like he's Frankenstein.
Well, it's the robot parts.
At this point, I had forgotten that he had a robot chest. So I just thought it was badly drawn because he's just stiff. I don't know. I'm not talking erection, Shaylin.
Almost like
sicko.
he's part robot.
Yeah.
I love the idea that, like, you know, they took the plot of RoboCop, right? Which is, again, hyper violent. And they were like,
Sure.
let's make this guy a cartoon character for kids. And like the background is he got shot to hell. Or no, he got ran over by a car.
By a car, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, oh, he got horrifically maimed. Yeah, that was the main character. Like, no, we won't talk about it though. It's nice.
They gave him like a metal chest. And I don't know if it's a robot or if he's just made of metal now, but
Okay.
you could still shoot this guy in the head.
Right.
This doesn't seem particularly useful.
I mean, it protects his heart, theoretically.
He's like an Iron Man.
I mean,
A little
like,
bit.
none of them are useful on their own. Like,
No,
Longarm
not at
just
all.
has a stupid handcuff. And thank God, too, that he got that one because his last name was Longarm. So, like, what would have happened if his last name was Longarm and he got, like, rocket boots or something? Like, it'd just be embarrassing.
What if his last name was Rocket Boots? And he got the arm.
I just looked it up. Longarm, Pennsylvania Dutch.
Oh,
So
excellent.
that's what it means.
Steel mill guy.
So we cut to the villain's lair, and Big Boss is the big bad here. You know, he's the head of the crime family. He looks like Louis Anderson if you put black shoe polish in his hair.
Yep.
And he's talking with Small Guy, and I want you to notice something about their speech patterns here.
I've been watching you, Small Guy. I like what I've seen.
That's fine, big boss. But what's this about a deal?
I really enjoy that the directors were like, okay, so Big Boss is an established character, but we're bringing in this new guy. They should sound exactly the same and have the exact same speech pattern.
They're bad guys.
It was so good. Like, they have this cadre of villains, right? And everyone has like a distinct look and voice, whatever. And like, we got this small guy, and he's dressed like Big Boss too. They must have just had this joke. They were like, look, I drew like a little small Big Boss guy. Oh, let's make him a villain. And he's exactly the same, but he's surrounded by short puns.
Yeah. I just, it's just a weird artistic choice. That's all.
I'm
it's not bad.
Fascinated by it, and I love it. I like every decision this show made. I love.
There's a few that I have questions about, but we'll get there.
Nope. You love them.
I didn't say I didn't love them. I just said I had questions. So Big Boss is essentially trying to like strong arm small guy. You know, he's trying to like put him under the table. But then small guy has a surprise because he has two pals with him, and they pop up. Let's meet them. This is a fantastic moment.
Say hello to my gang. I'm Snubnose.
And I'm Sawed Off.
So he's got Snubnose and
And
Sawed
I represent the Lollipop Guild.
And I want to paint a picture because Big Boss is sitting at a large desk because he's a big man.
Right.
Small guy is seated at a chair in front of the desk.
Correct.
The other two dudes pop up in front of the desk, and it's like,
so in between,
how did they get? Yeah, how did they get in there?
They're not like, they're short. They're not like, you know, Ant-Man, where they're like they can grow back to their normal size.
Maybe they
like,
can. Maybe that's the deal.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
And again, like, where did he find these small people? It's fine. It's
the
fine.
convention.
It's fine.
The convention.
So the flimsy plan here is that Big Boss is going to let small guy operate, and they're going to split the profits 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
Small guy needs a hideout. I don't know where his dudes were hiding out before, but they need a new one.
Unimportant.
So they decide to go live at Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage while they will dress up and act like babies.
They really don't want to have to bathe themselves. They want someone else to do it for them.
Yeah. It's a flimsy plan. It makes less and less sense as we go, but that's the setup. We're going to accept it for the moment. So we immediately cut to the orphanage where Snubnose and Tiny Dick and Small Guy, Sawed Off, they are dressed like babies. They have on no shirts. They are wearing diapers ostensibly. They're wearing bonnets. One of them is smoking a cigar. And they ring the doorbell, and then they start sobbing, and it sounds a lot like this.
Wah, wah, wah. Wah, wah, wah.
Not only are they the most believable babies I've ever heard.
Yep.
That's all I've got. What were you going to say, Dave? To be fair, what?
To be fair, that's how my children cried when they were babies. My daughter had a poopy diaper, and she, wah, wah, wah. It was cute. It's adorable.
Admittedly, this was very funny, right? But it raised some questions that I think we need to talk through. Okay. One is they're all wearing bonnets and diapers.
Right.
Not one of them has a body hair.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that like they were all naturally smooth, or did they shave that off?
I think that it's part of their genetic makeup that's causing them to be little.
That they're all just like
smooth,
completely smooth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I think they went deep into the characters. They're committed to the crime, committed to the role, and they waxed.
This leads into my second question. What kind of heat you think these guys are packing? Like, they all have
ironically huge.
Well, I don't know. I mean, would it be ironic? Like they all have little bodies, but normal dude heads. So,
and their voices are low, so their testicles have dropped.
Well, 2 out of 3 are, yeah. So I mean, like, like she goes to change the diapers, it's just like a normal man's size genitals. It's fucking weird, right?
Like,
what do you think?
Yeah, that would be weird.
Shins.
Mm-hmm.
Regular Ben Hogan's.
Listeners, we want to hear from you.
Whoops.
What do you think these guys are packing? Hashtag in the heat of the night or hashtag hog heaven. So they make jokes about being babies, and they sound something like this.
Nobody's putting me in the pen.
Me neither.
Not the state pen, you dopes. The playpen.
Now remember that. Remember that exact line, Sheila. Can you do that?
I will.
We're going to revisit that later. So they're in this orphanage, right? And I noticed that Mrs. Lopsided, who's a big woman wearing a necktie, I don't know how else to describe her. Like she's like grotesque. There are no other children here.
Because orphanhood is down in, what is it called? Industry City, Empire City.
Why? What is your theory?
It's almost a utopia.
Oh, what?
Parents keep their kids.
Would you say it's a fruitopia?
Maybe. I mean, it can't be a utopia because there's still crime. I'm just saying that every kid has a loving home to live inside of, and so the orphanage doesn't need to exist, really.
That's so bright and cheery. I love it. My theory is it's 2020. COVID has just run rampant, and people are adopting a lot of dogs and a lot of cats because they're bored.
Okay.
So they adopted the children?
They ran out of dogs and cats, so they're adopting all the kids.
Sure.
Wow.
My theory is, because we'll get to it in a few minutes here, the C.O.P.S. are doing fundraisers every year at this orphanage. And I think it's just that effective. You see Bulletproof holding up a baby and you're like, oh, fuck, I gotta get that fucking baby. He looks like a man. He's got this huge hog, but fuck, I need that baby.
I love the character of the woman running the orphanage. She's an idiot, right? Like she can't tell that they're not babies.
Right.
And I was like, oh, is everyone going to not be able to tell that they're babies? And then later on, they show that she's actually an idiot. Like she just doesn't understand. It's pretty damn good. I love it. God, I love this show. I watched 4 episodes of it.
All of them have baby men.
Do they all have baby men?
There's actually a sequel to this episode. They break out of jail.
Oh, you just spoiled the end.
Oh yeah, they got away.
So it's nighttime. They break into a room with a safe. They don't tell you where it is. It doesn't really matter. And they're still wearing the baby outfits. And not only that, I don't know why they're wearing the baby outfits, but it's funny.
Commitment to the character.
That's right. Small guy pulls out a bottle and it looks nothing like any baby bottle. Maybe it's like this future tech baby bottle, but it has an important distinction. It has a switch on it.
Time in a future time.
One side of the switch says milk. The other says TNT. So he switches it from
tick, 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 tick,
milk
tick,
to TNT,
boom.
And he tapes it to the safe. He had it in his diaper too. So that diaper's big enough to hold both a man-sized hog and a baby bottle. And they blow up the safe. And then they're running around with their little smooth baby man bodies. And I don't know what I was.
Delighted.
Yeah. We'll go with delighted. So then it's the next morning and the C.O.P.S. are there and they're like, oh man, there's been a robbery, a big jewel robbery. I wonder why Whitney's not here. And it's like, why would that be the first thing you think about? But the one thing you can say about C.O.P.S. above all else, it's airtight because Whitney has a goddamn good explanation for not being there.
Boy, howdy does she.
Also a very convenient one.
To tell you the truth, Mrs. Lopsided, I'm a little tired of doing crime reports. I think you and your orphanage would make a wonderful human interest story.
So she hosts and produces a show about crime called Crime Time or whatever. But she's going to do a human interest story about the orphanage.
That is correct.
It fits together so perfectly, It's
definitely a scenario that would not happen in real life.
I haven't seen interwoven plots like this since the series finale of Seinfeld.
Just a rich, robust tapestry.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she sees the baby men there, and she notices that they speak like men and also calls them strange looking. She tries to look in Small Guy's diaper, but then she gets distracted by Ellis the elephant. And this is very, very important that she meets Ellis the elephant. This is a long one, but it ends with a Watchbots favorite.
I haven't seen one of these in years. I used to have one just like it when I was a kid. Oh, I have to hear it talk.
Hey!
That's a hashtag, big smooch. So she's in this orphanage, right? And she picks up this stuffed elephant and she's like hugging it and making it talk and like kissing it. And it's just a really fucking strange thing for somebody to be doing.
Agreed.
I don't go into other people's homes where they have kids and just like pick up their toys and start like hugging it and kissing it.
Especially like an orphanage.
I just do that at the toy store.
Yeah, exactly. Like you don't want like a communally used toy like that. That's gross.
Get something clean.
Full of cooties.
Ugh.
Sheila doesn't like cooties, apparently.
My brain immediately jumps to lice in that situation.
Now,
didn't get that circle, dot, dot cootie shot.
When Teddy Ruxpin spoke, it was a mouth moving, right? And there was a speaker in there. But when Ellis the elephant talks, there's apparently like inhaling and exhaling because it starts talking and it's just hurling diamonds all over the fucking orphanage.
This is so good.
It's so crazy.
Like, we need the reporter to find the diamonds. Like, what if she like offered to help change one of the babies and like it was hidden in the diaper bag? No. It's got to be entirely convoluted, and she needs a toy elephant that not only talks but like spews whatever's inside of it. It's crazy. And again, I fucking loved it.
It's airtight. So the guys pull out guns from their diapers. Again, hogs, TNT, guns. These are like utility diapers. And then they hammer both women into high chairs. And I struggled with this because it looked like they were just made of wood.
Right.
And the reporter, pretty svelte. So maybe she would fit in there. Mrs. Lopsided is a large woman. So I'm questioning A, how she fit into the chair, and B, how they didn't like just move their arms and break out.
I don't know why you have to fat shame Mrs. Lopsided.
It has nothing to do with fat shaming. It's like
I don't know. I heard the judging in your voice.
If I sat in a baby chair, I wouldn't fit. And if you hammered me in there, I would move and break. But I work out, so maybe there's a reason behind it.
I think that maybe you're projecting muscles onto Mrs. Lopsided.
That could be. So the reporter's like...
Which is another fat shaming tactic.
Whitney's like, oh man, this is crazy. But Mrs. Lopsided she doesn't really understand the sitch.
You're a naughty little boy. Naughty. These aren't children, Mrs. Lopsided. They're dangerous criminals. Oh, fiddle faddle. All they need is a good dose of castor oil.
True enough.
Do you remember that movie Orphan?
Was that the one where the girl tried to fuck the father?
Yeah.
She had like a ribbon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked like she was 10, but she was like really 30 and she was from Russia or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I imagine that Mrs. Lopsided would probably benefit from seeing that movie and realizing she can't just assume that everything that is a certain size is a baby.
She's going around.
She's picking up gallons of milk.
I was going to say, she brought home a ham from the deli.
On a small shrub. Oh, what a beautiful baby. Oh, my goodness. It's a 5-gallon bucket of paint.
That's a little too heavy to be a baby.
Look at this cute little baby. You tell me small guy wasn't heavy with that giant hog of his? Things like 20 pounds at least.
I guess that's true. And he did have a lot of TNT in that diaper.
It's true.
Like 20 pounds of dick.
A lot of poop in there, too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because if you're wearing a diaper, you might as well go all out with it.
Exactly. It adds authenticity to the character.
How much semen do you think small guy can shoot out, Ben? Are we talking quarts, gallons?
Cup a shot.
Nice. Shaylin, your thoughts?
I'm not going to think about that, Dave, but thanks.
Okay.
We already are. So we go back to Cop Central and they're just standing around and they find out that Whitney had a ransom placed on her. And I thought, how odd that they didn't put a ransom on Mrs. Lopsided as well. But then a light bulb went off. And this isn't an irony light bulb. This is a smart light bulb. Because if they had put a ransom on Mrs. Lopsided, they would check the orphanage.
Right.
So it makes sense. It ties together. It's like one of those Chinese finger traps. You put your fingers in and you get stuck. It all makes sense.
It's tight writing with a lot of puns.
Tight asses. And they theorize here, like, why can't we catch these guys? And one of the cops says they leave behind no clues. And I thought, these are 3 men who are wandering around, not wearing gloves. They're running around in bare feet. They're wearing a diaper and a bonnet. There's no clues. Really?
No clues, Ben. Not for the most incompetent police force we've seen since Police
I was
Academy.
going to say, if I could have a fingerprint dusting kit at like age 8 and find my own fingerprints on things, I bet these guys could find something.
Oh, no. In 2020, there are no more fingerprints. We've evolved.
Oh.
We all Men in Blacked.
Yeah,
Put
exactly.
them on like the big metal globe.
Yeah.
Yep. So we're at another robbery scene, and the baby men are just like pissing everywhere, like it's leaking out of their diapers. But Small Guy is in the safe, and you start to see the seams in this plan, almost like the seams in a bonnet.
Give me that back, you mugger! I'll tell on you.
Nothing doing. It's mine. Mine.
So they're fighting over a rattle, if that wasn't clear.
Because they're adults?
Sure.
They're babies.
They're adult babies.
They've gone Heath Ledger. They've gone,
Just full method.
Kevin Spacey. They've just lost themselves in the character.
Makes sense.
Full Brando.
Hopefully it ends better for Small Guy than it did for any of those guys. Although Daniel Day-Lewis is still going strong. Daniel Day-Lewis, the real small guy of the acting world, I always say.
You do always say that.
I'm always saying that. But Small Guy, he has his head straight still, and he makes a very sexy promise.
I ought to give you both a good spanking.
And then it turns into this weird snuff film of Small Guy just slowly spanking his two hoods.
Yeah, and he's like lowering their diapers.
Oh,
it's disturbing. Oh, so Ben can say snuff film for small guys dressed as babies, but I say lower diapers. And, that's too much, Dave.
that's correct.
Lower diaper is pretty gross, but they played like the knockoff version of Dreamweaver under the whole thing. I don't know, man. This is just weird stuff. Now, here's the problem. They leave the rattle behind. And the rattle, it's not just a rattle. It's a Mrs. Lopsided Orphanage branded rattle.
That shit's branded, baby.
Cops get there. Most of them overlook this rattle, which is plain as day. Long Arm shows up. Doesn't use gloves. He doesn't use any kind of actual investigative
Because
technique.
they're incompetent.
He just picks up the rattle with his hand, and he realizes where it's from because it's printed right there.
Question. If she was making these rattles
Yeah.
and had all kinds of rattle money, ostensibly probably selling the rattles,
Hashtag big rattle.
why did she need yearly fundraisers from the cops?
Because she's a crook.
It's a real parallel with the airline business. You know, they're out there bleeding you dry,
Uh-huh.
and then things go bad, and they're out there asking for billions of dollars. Like, what does it say about the world of Liberty City or wherever the fuck these people
Empire
were?
City.
Omega City.
Empire Records.
It's a sad thing.
Fatty Acid City.
So in the sequel, they break out of prison, all the small guy and his gang, and they go back to the orphanage, and it turns out Mrs. Lopsided is in on it. She was playing dumb the whole time, and she wanted to stay in character too.
That makes sense.
Is
Yeah.
Mrs. Lopsided the mother, the lover, the other
The lover.
of Small Guy?
It's a weird thing. Yeah, like
boy.
small guy and see the baby man, and he has her
Yeah,
come
yeah.
in, and she breastfeeds him and all.
Yeah,
She lowers his diaper.
to the tune of Dreamweaver again.
Yeah.
Really strange.
Well, I'm uncomfortable.
I love it.
So
So-
adult diapers.
We've mentioned it a couple of times that the cops do a fundraiser at the orphanage every year. And the way we know it is they make it painfully obvious in a very funny clip, which I will play right now.
Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage.
Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage.
I recognize this rattle. It's one of Mrs. Lopsided's. We do a fundraiser there every year.
He's right.
He's right. Mrs. Lopsided gives us a call from Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage. And then Mrs. Lopsided and I discuss the details, and we go to Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage.
Where are we going?
Strangely written. Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage. Mrs. Lopsided's orphanage.
He's right.
He's right.
He's right.
They decide to go to Lopsided's orphanage. Bulletproof sends Long Arm because this is technically his case, right? So they had 1 million cars at this bank, like tons and tons of them. They only
This is
sent
so good.
the one helicopter with 2 dudes in it to the orphanage. Didn't understand that choice.
Go check it out. Oh, it's so good.
It's funny stuff.
Like again, like it took like 4 guys walked over this bright red ass rattle, and then Long Arm found it. They're like, "Oh, a clue! Good
Yeah.
work, good work, Long Arm. You're very smart."
Somehow they've made Steve from Blue's Clues seem more competent.
But they may be incompetent, but at least they're supportive, right?
That's true.
Because Long Arm is like, I'm going to go to the orphanage, and Bulletproof could not endorse this more heartily.
Setting down.
Good work, Long Arm. We're on our way.
More heartfelt than Obama endorsing Joe Biden, I feel like.
Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
It's too political.
It's true.
We're going to lose listeners now.
But maybe we'll gain a few on the other side. You know what I'm saying?
We had people come on to listen to a podcast about C.O.P.S., the centralized organization of police specialists. And you're bringing out Obama and Biden and like this political talk? Like, ugh, no thanks.
Hey, it wasn't my choice, but you got to work with what you have. So they fly the helicopter there. And the helicopter I do remember having, because it's got like these 2 cool like bug eye windows on it. And it has heat vision. And they see the 3 bad guys who are playing cards. And yes, they are still wearing the baby outfits, despite the fact that there's no need for them to do that at the orphanage.
Mm-hmm.
They just like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're in it now. It's like when I started listening to Hall & Oates, ironically, and when I was in college, and then I just fell in love with them.
Yeah, it's like me and Buffett. Like, I like Buffett now.
Yeah. Oh, me? Yeah, I'm a huge Hall & Oates guy.
Yeah.
Is what I would tell all the ladies I dated after college.
You're sowing those wild oats.
Yeah. Throwing a hot dog down a hall? I don't know.
A kid in the hall.
Yeah, got a hall pass for that ass.
But me, I'm just going to be a parrot head. That's for me.
Great.
Shailen's a deadhead.
No, false.
Shailen, stop contributing.
I didn't ironically like any bands, so I can't non-ironically like them now. I just like bands.
I like the Wiggles.
No, not really.
I'm a wiggle worm.
Fruit salad
wiggle.
yummy is my favorite.
Hashtag wiggle worm. So they get there, they see the dudes playing cards, and then instead of going in after them, Long Arm has to have this braggadocio, and he's like, "We're coming to get you." And then Small Guy says something that it didn't end the way that I thought it would, but I want to play it from my point of view.
Come in and get us, you bad.
So he says, like, you badge. He says, "Badge happy bozo." I was convinced in that 10th of a second that he was going to say, "Come get us, you bastard."
I bet that was the original, and then he had to like fix it because it's for kids.
You think somebody actually wrote that?
Yeah, I do actually.
The original script, you may not know this, was filled with 37 fucks and worse things than that.
They actually lifted a bunch of the dialogue from the movie Willow, and that's why they had to use Small Guy.
Willow.
Oh my God. That movie's fucking ridiculous.
That movie
Yep,
came out in
it is.
1988, so maybe this was like one of those things where they respond to like a popular movie.
And like the starting lineup guys, bad sculpts on those figures.
Yeah.
They were like too small. They were almost like Dungeons and Dragons sized kind of guys. I didn't care for them too much. Surprisingly good Nintendo game though.
Really?
Pretty standard 8-bit RPG, but not bad. So Long Arm decides, okay, well, they invited me in. I'm going to go in. So he shoots his fucking fishing line cuff. It goes through the window. It hits a pipe. He jumps down off the helicopter, and the force of the line rips his arm off, and he just laid there bleeding on the ground.
And he bled out. It was a dark ending.
It was like
Weirdly violent for a kid's show.
that episode of CSI where the dude, like the guy in real life, was a drug addict, so they had to kill him off, and they just shot him all to hell. And then he turned into RoboCop. Warwick Brown. Hashtag RIP Warwick. Shailen's just staring at me blankly. You've watched this with me.
I thought you were going to say it was the episode of CSI where they had the train run over the dead guy, didn't cut off his head.
No, that was ER.
No.
That was Matlock.
It was Matlock.
Do like Matlock.
What he really does is he flies through the window. He does like a triple somersault, and he immediately goes to Whitney. And without a modicum of effort, he breaks her out of the chair.
Mhm.
And again, I was like, she couldn't have just like squirmed and whatever.
Breathed deeply.
Yeah, exactly. Just put her elbows out a bit.
But that's not important. What is important is that Whitney is very thankful. If I did something nice for you, Shaylin, what would you say?
Thank you.
Dave, what would you say if Shaylin did a good deed that benefited you?
Hey, thanks.
What does Whitney say?
Here's a blowjob.
Oh my God. Nope. Actually, maybe you were right. She just looks at him and like grunt moans.
So I think it's supposed to represent that. I think we're making jokes about how she couldn't break out of the chair. And I think it's supposed to be that she's finally like taking a deep breath for the first time in many hours.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Yeah. I think she
didn't come off that way.
Well, the clip you didn't pull, Ben, was, she was free and she puts her hands on Long Arm's chest and she goes, I heard you're the one called Long Arm. Let's see about that. She just unzips him and unfurls him.
And then the camera cuts to like, just like waving curtains, but you can hear like a.
Oh.
She's thankful for the release from the high chair and also for the sexual release that she got from Long Arm.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. There's nothing to be ashamed about, Shaylin. It's natural.
We're sex positive here.
The baby men rocket out of the orphanage in a rocket-powered carriage. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it looks like a baby stroller.
Right.
And for some reason, even though the million cars from the bank have now made their way to the orphanage, only Long Arm in a single cruiser can chase them.
It's because these cops are terrible.
He was in the worst position to do so because he was in the building with them where the other cops were in cars outside already.
And did nothing.
So they have to wait for this guy to like run down the stairs, get in the car, follow them. But it's fine. It's fine.
Maybe this is the hard lesson that Bulletproof was talking about at the beginning. Like he's teaching Long Arm a lesson. Like, you got to do this alone, kid. It's tough learning.
Everyone around you sucks.
It's like a hazing sort of thing.
Yeah.
So he's chasing them. Again, the music here is really good. Let's get a little of that. This scene had a little bit of a Speed Racer vibe to me, with kind of like the big bandy music. And Speed Racer is a show we should absolutely be talking about.
Agree.
So he chases them around for a couple of months, and there's a couple of notable things here. One is he pulls up like alongside them, and they put like their hands up, and they're like, nanner, nanner.
They became the Three Stooges.
Yeah. They did become. Were they always supposed to be the Three Stooges?
I don't know if they were supposed to be the whole time, but this was the moment where I was like, oh, we've given up on new characters. We're just the Three Stooges now.
We only had enough material for these guys for 14 minutes.
Wrong, because there is a sequel episode.
Yeah, but that was later. That was like a year later.
They had time to mull on that. Yeah,
they had the refractory period.
They do lean more into these Three Stooges dynamic within the second episode. Yeah.
So the chase goes on. They have more of their TNT bottles. Now, mind you, these blew open safes and did a lot of damage inside buildings.
Mm-hmm.
When they're in this car chase, these TNT bottles could not be less of a threat. Like, they just have these little teensy explosions. One of them actually hits the car, and they're like, yeah, we got him. But Long Arm is just fine.
Yep.
So they go down a one-way street towards like a big truck that looks like a bug. And then the carriage crashes. The villains are scared. And their heads land.
You did not edit that at all.
No. Their heads land through a billboard that says "Time for Crime." Their heads are like on top of criminals' heads, like they're wearing like the prison stripes or whatever.
Right.
What was this a billboard for?
I don't know.
I just, it's funny. It's fine. I was just like, what are they advertising?
Does the big boss have a corporation that just produces crime and like they're advertising it? Like, it's time for crime, folks.
Maybe.
Big Boss Enterprises.
I would like to submit the following theory.
Mm-hmm.
The cops are really bad at their jobs.
True.
And part of them being so bad at their jobs is that they advertised people being criminals, not realizing that it was encouraging people to be criminals instead of people to not be criminals.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I'll buy it. So we see like the whole gang's together. Whitney's there. Whitney is like, oh man, the cops are good, which seems antithetical to her show, but whatever, it's fine. And we get the ending.
To make a long story short, the stolen money was returned to the banks, and Small Guy and his gang were sent to the pen. Only this time, it wasn't the playpen, it was the state pen. Cops File 21813, the case of the baby bad guy. Case closed.
You guys will remember the line earlier about the playpen and the big pen or whatever. So I had to bring in a special outside analyst to help us with this one.
Again, it's like poetry. So if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work.
See, it's like a mirror.
Yeah.
In poetry.
Echoes.
It all rhymes.
Echoes.
What is that from?
It's a Star Wars documentary. So I think he's talking about episode 1.
Yeah.
And how like the story of Anakin mirrors the story of Luke.
And as you watch it happen, you can see that
full circle.
no one in the room is telling him no, and they all look vaguely frightened of him. And you can tell that everyone's like, this is a shitty idea. Someone needs to speak up. And none of them did. Mm-hmm. And that's how we landed with the Phantom Menace.
You know what wasn't a shitty idea, though? The way that Cops ended.
Agreed.
Because it ends with music, kind of. But what it really is a roll call. And I'm not going to play the whole minute where they introduce every character, but you want to get a flavor of this.
Cops, roll call, highway, mainframe, long arm, Bowser and Blitz, sundown.
So it just goes on and on and on like that. I honestly would have appreciated the roll call at the head of the episode.
Sure, because then you know what you're looking at.
You know who you're looking at, right? Like, I would have been thrilled to have a list of names to start with.
It's so good.
But that's Cops. Now, before we rate this, I mentioned I had done like a tall and small joke count.
Mm-hmm.
So the episode, 20 minutes, give or take. What is your guess on number of talls and smalls and bigs and shorts or whatever?
All combined?
Yeah.
16, Ben.
Okay. A solid guess. Dave?
25?
Answer is 23.
Oh.
They really front loaded it. And then it tailed off toward the end when the story was getting a little more serious. You know, when the cop said, no more jokes, we're going to cut the legs out from under this guy. We're going to put this big hog in the pen. That's what they said.
Yep, they said that.
Sounds like a tall order, Ben.
That's no small fry. So would you show it to a baby man of your own, Shaylin?
I would. And in fact, did. Because it was more convenient. Well.
Oh, wrong one.
Nope. That's a good one.
Oh, damn it.
Regular 4-year-old.
Point Dave.
The way the timing of watching the episode worked out, it just made sense to let him watch it with us. He had some really important commentary, like, but why are those guys dressed like babies? Which I thought was valid.
Mm-hmm. Dave, would you show it to a baby man?
I would show it to a baby man. I'm not sure if it would be after or before he has coitus with his his nurse.
Gross.
Sure. So it's either the foreplay or the aft play.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Shockingly violent. So no. And let's stick with the theme. 1 to 5 teeming full baby man diapers. Shaylin, how many diaper loads you given this?
3.
It was fine.
I found at a certain point the puns and the short jokes and everything to be like grating. I think they overdid some stuff. It was not super original either. But it was, watchable, enjoyable enough. Mm-hmm. Wasn't amazing. Wasn't gem. Wasn't outrageous. But it was not shitty.
Dave, how many stinky wet diaper loads? You're sticking with 5. Okay.
5 big old diapers. I love the aesthetic of the show, like the future past kind of thing. The over the topness of it all, like I was all in on the 800 puns they put in here. The flashy cars and vehicles and all the even the hyper violence, though shocking, that was great. I would watch a lot more of this show. Actually, I might watch the whole season, the whole series. Just
all streaming on
stuff.
Tubi TV.
That's
for
right.
Free.
That's right.
I will give this 4.5 loads. Going into it, I guess I didn't know what to expect, but knowing that it shares so much with like the development of G.I. Joe and Transformers, like it says a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like Hasbro at that point was committed to that kind of quality. So this was much better than I really anticipated. Yeah, it was completely ridiculous. And I sort of wonder, like all things, you know, if you watch a lot of this and it's kind of the same characters and the same vehicles, does it get old at a point? But I liked the mix of old and new. I thought the music was good. I thought the characters were completely fucking ridiculous. And what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
I love cops. That's all. Love cops. So, moving ahead.
I have a game, but I need to bring it up. So while I do that, what does C.O.P.S. stand for you? What's the acronym stand for? Off the top of your head.
Cool, orally fisticated sex bots. Orally potent sex bots.
Jalen?
Cats.
Of course.
On
brand.
Parking stamps. Postage stamps.
Parking stamps. Cats on postage stamps. Copulating otters pound silently.
Yeah, they do. Cool orange pornography stations.
Cum-filled, it's hyphenated. Orifices. Pensively silent.
That's like it's like a Walt Williams poem.
Who?
Walt Williams. I'm combining like 3 different poets. Fuck you, it's late.
I was like, is that like a famous person that I don't know
Not
about?
Walt Whitman. Who's the guy I'm thinking about? The guy who wrote about blackberries.
Wordsworth. William Wordsworth.
William
Wordsworth.
Waldo
Emerson.
Oh, god damn it.
Where's Waldo? You talking about D.H. Lawrence?
Hold on. You know what?
The wheelbarrow guy? So much depends on a wheelbarrow.
You know what? Let's just stick with Waldo Wheelbarrow. That's who I was referring to.
Yes, indeed.
Waldo Wheelbarrow. All right.
Oh, no, you're thinking of E.E. Cummings.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, another thing it could stand for is the name of my game, which is clearly off predictions. Shaylin? I don't know. I didn't know what to do with the S there. This show takes place in 2020, imagined in 1988. And I love when movies think of the future and they get it wrong. So when you rewatch a movie and it takes place in 2005, it's clearly off. Like they had grand ideas of what 2005 would have looked like back in 1979 or whatever. So this is C.O.P.S. Clearly off predictions. Shaylin? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a couple predictions that a movie made, and you're going to have to give me the name of the movie.
Okay.
So let me get the scoreboard here. I'll figure out who goes first. I liked Shaylin's postage stamp C.O.P.S. Acronym. So Shaylin, you're going to go first.
All right.
Question 1. Flying cars, off-world colonies, robot sex. What's the movie?
Artificial intelligence, AI.
I'm sorry. Ben, you can't get the point, but do you want to fancy a guess?
RoboCop 3, but I will note that Shaylin's guess has at least 2 of those things.
The cars don't technically fly. Do they? Or are they on
I think they
tracks?
do.
I think they do, actually. Yeah.
The answer is Blade Runner.
Oh,
Blade
yeah,
Runner.
that works.
Oh.
Yeah.
The timeline was 2019. I don't know what the timeline for AI was, but I think we haven't hit it yet.
Oh,
So
okay, I see.
These movies are all based in years that have already
Right.
passed.
I guess it can't be wrong because
it feels so right.
So it was Blade Runner. Nobody gets the point there. Ben, you're up.
Yeah.
Super volcanoes, Earth flooded, stupid giant arcs, and John Cusack's strange hair.
Oh, is it 2012?
It is 2012, which was made in 2009, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The movie obviously took place in 2012, and it fucking sucked. These stupid giant boats hidden in the sides of mountains. Oh my God, it was awful. Did you see it?
No, but if you hadn't said John Cusack, I would have just guessed Tommy Lee Jones Volcano. Tommy Lee Jones and Heish.
Or Dante's Peak with Pierce Brosnan.
And Linda Hamilton.
There was no flooding.
There was a lava flood. It was terrible.
If you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, he'll jump out. But if you put a frog in a pot of water and slowly bring it to a boil, it'll simmer and die.
If you put a frog in a pot of boiling water, he may well come out a copulating otter.
Thanks, Ben.
Lovely. Shaylin, you're up.
I'm ready.
Flying cars, fax machine mailboxes, and cowboy Billy Zane.
I have no idea. I don't think I've seen a Billy Zane movie.
Oh, shit.
Fax machine mailboxes. I'll give you another hint. We talked about this last week.
Is it Back to the Future, Dave?
Back to the Future 2, Shaylin. You
Billy
can't even
Zane's
get the
in it.
sequel right.
He's a cowboy. He's a cowboy.
He's one of the cowboys?
Yeah, he rides a steel horse.
Huh.
He's a cowboy, baby.
He's one of the guys that goes, "That's a baby game."
On a steel horse he rides.
That's right. That was the joke.
He's wanted.
Anyway, Shaylin, I'm not going to give you that point. I had to give you
I don't deserve the point, Dave. It's okay.
And you got, I'm not even going to give you a tally. I'm just going to give you a big goose egg there. You couldn't even get the sequel. Ugh.
It's fine.
Anyway, Ben, you're up.
Yo.
Time travel, cool splits in underwear.
Time Cop.
That's right. The setting was 2004, although it starts off in 1994 where they discovered time travel, and then it jumps ahead to 2004 and they jump back and forth. It's pretty crazy, but the main timeline is 2004. Obviously and clearly they got that wrong.
Speaking of Van Damme's doing splits, so wrestler Rob Van Dam, he has a weightlifting move named after him.
Okay.
Yeah, so you do a split, right? So you have two weight benches and you do a split between them. And then you're picking up like a heavy dumbbell from the floor.
Oh.
And they call that the Van Damme lift.
Jesus.
Is it named for him or is it named for Jean-Claude?
Him, for the wrestler. But they both do splits.
Are they related?
Yeah, brothers.
Are you messing with me?
The record for the Van Damme split is 140, which is the pounds you can lift before your anus prolapses.
Cool.
Yeah.
Or like your legs just like start to split from your hips. Oh, man. That sounds painful. What wasn't painful was watching Jean-Claude Van Damme do a cool split in his underpants.
True enough.
That was sensual. I remember that trailer and I rewatched it just to make sure. Like that was part of the trailer. Like they were playing that in front of movies and like, on VHS trailers and stuff. He's got this cool split and he's in his like boxer briefs. It's a strange thing. I don't know. It's a strange thing to show off. Shaylin didn't mind though. Let's see. Shaylin, you're up.
Meow.
Question 5. City prisons, moral America laws. So laws, the title is Moral America Laws. And mullets are still a thing. What is the movie?
I have no idea.
City-sized prisons.
Half Past Dead.
I like it.
I'm giving you half a point.
I'll take it.
That goose egg into a 0.5. The answer, Ben, you want to take a guess?
Sure. Ray Liotta, No Escape.
No. It is Escape from L.A.
Okay.
Not Escape from New York. The sequel to Escape from New York. Escape from L.A. sets it's set in 2013.
Really?
That movie was terrible.
It had a really bad White Zombie song attached to it too. It's like it's like he's like Escape from LA.
Escape from LA.
You just sounded like you were singing the Ramones.
More LA than LA. Move with Kurt Russell and not Donald Pleasance. LA.
We're gonna escape from from LA.
We've escaped my white zombie knowledge.
Yeah.
That's it.
2 songs. Anyway, that movie was terrible. At the end, Snake Plissken like has this big button or switch that shuts off all the power in the world, and he flicks it, and then the movie ends.
I like it.
Yeah.
Seems meta.
Meta, yeah. That's what I like.
Question 6, Ben, this is for you.
Absolutely.
Mech suits, Groundhog Day, and sultry training montages.
Edge of Tomorrow.
That is correct. What year did that take place?
2018.
2020.
Right now.
So we're close.
Could happen any second.
What was it? It was like Live, Die, Repeat was the other name of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That movie ruled. That was a good movie.
I love
Check that one
movie.
out.
Also, it takes place in 2020, which is, I think, pretty prescient because we're reliving Groundhog Day every day in this quarantine. So, thank you, Tom Cruise. Shaylin, there's no way you can win, but I've only got 2 questions left, so we're going to go through them all.
All right.
Big ass mech suits, mental piloting, and Dave discovered Idris Elba is British. What movie is that?
Pacific Rim?
Yes.
Yes.
You nailed it.
You didn't know he was British?
Not until that movie.
Oh, because he was in The Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
And I hadn't seen him in anything else. And then he starts talking in a British accent. I'm like, the fuck is he doing a British accent? Oh, I see.
Oh, that's how he talks.
Today is all Independence Day.
Pretty much.
Another really good movie.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one a lot. The sequel, not so much.
Sequel,
I was just about to ask if either of you had seen the sequel.
I've seen part of it. I'm fully into the world of Gundam building, and I'll just leave it at that. It's good stuff.
Big robots fighting kaiju. I love it. Ben, you could go 4 for 4 here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're gonna, though. Dragons, a water shortage, and so much abs.
Dragonheart.
No.
Tank Girl.
No, what? No.
I'm just kidding.
You were so confident.
I wasn't confident. I was trying to make you question yourself.
There will be blood. It was Reign of Fire. Do you remember that movie?
Oh, yeah.
Christian Bale, Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, I was thinking of Sean Connery as a dragon.
Ah, yes. Reign of Fire, I remember liking, but I was 18, so like it was right up my alley. But I remember the very end of the movie. So Matthew McConaughey's character, he's like this badass, and he's always sipping from this flask, and he's like, people think he's just kind of crazy and drunk. He's this badass like dragon killer. The end of the movie reveals that his flask is not filled with whiskey but water. It is the stupidest big reveal ever. Oh my god, it sucked so much. But I remember them being a fun movie. I'd like to rewatch that, but I don't think anybody else knows that it exists.
You get a little free time on your hands.
Yeah, the inspiration for A Song of Ice and Fire was Reign of Fire.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. That's my game. Ben, you went 4 for 4. You got 4 points to Shaylin's 1.5. So, Ben, congratulations.
Hooray!
You won clearly off predictions. Shaylin?
Before we depart, I thought of one as we were talking, and I'd like to lay it on both of you.
Okay.
News, celebrity interviews, Babs Walters.
News, celebrity interviews, Babs Walters?
Yes.
This is 2020.
Yeah, 2020. See,
it's just the year.
Yeah, 2020. No, it's the show, 2020.
It's not about, but it's not predictive.
Yeah, it is. It's funny.
It's a funny joke, but
it's funny.
I don't like it. That was 20/20, Ben, not 2020. God.
She was born the same year as Anne Frank.
Do you not respect punctuation?
Not generally. On to the mailbag. Everybody has a lot of free time now to do a lot of binge watching. What's your
saying that
ideal binge watching situation? In the boudoir, on the couch, sitting at the computer, sitting 6 inches in front of the screen, on the toilet? Tell me. Sincerely yours, Les McBurney. Thanks, Les.
I don't know what people are doing. Maybe it's people without kids, but like I'm not binge watching anything. Like I haven't been able to watch a thing, really.
I agree.
Except for Tiger King.
Oh, yeah. Very, very hip.
TMZ is doing a Tiger King special this week, so that's good. I'd like to sit on my couch, preferably with wine in my hand, while binge watching. That is my ideal situation. Is that the question?
Yeah.
I answered the question.
I'm very proud of you.
What are you going to binge, Shailen?
I mean, right now, Community just got put onto Netflix, and that's a show that was apparently a cultural phenomenon that I never witnessed, so I'm trying to get into that.
Yeah, it was the Beatles and Community, I think.
And I recently finished the show You. It was fine.
Any good?
2.5.
Yeah.
I think...
Would you show it to a child?
Oh, no. No. That's a show that I feel like I understand why people like it a lot, but the person or the people who wrote it probably have read a lot of the same like mystery books that I've read. So it wasn't like shocking, you know?
Oh, shit.
It's fine. John Stamos is in it.
Dave, what's your ideal situation?
For binging?
Sure.
Rolled up dollar bill, mirror. By myself. Like I can't binge watch with my wife. She'll stop a show after 1 or 2. But me, I'll just keep going. So I'll have to be like alone, sequestered in a hotel or something to really, really get that binge experience that I need and want. When my daughter was born, I binge watched Freaks and Geeks on my phone while sitting up with her. She wouldn't fall asleep. So I watched that with the sound off in subtitles. That was not an ideal binge situation. But I got through the damn show. And I think I liked it. I don't know.
Tough to tell. I really struggle with binging. I just don't have the attention span for it. Like
more of a purge guy. I get it.
Exactly. Just the purge. I can't focus on anything for long enough, so I'm just flitting between things all the time. But like Shailen and I during this quarantine are watching a lot of Top Chef. We're still making our way through the Bond movie, so we tend to do that on the couch. I have found some success getting through stuff while I work out. So like while I've been doing strength training and stuff, I watch Dragon Ball. When I'm on the elliptical, I watch old wrestling. And I guess that's at least consistent, which is all an easy way to say this guy's getting swole. But I don't know.
Wow. I like how you snuck in that humble brag there. Jesus.
That's right.
You know, when I'm putting up 350 benching, I've got the phone dangling above me and I'm watching
350 kilos. Easy.
I'm doing my Van Damme presses.
On planes, I'm okay with it. But it's like anything else. Unless I'm forced to do it, like, and I have no other alternative, I will always seek out an alternative, even if it's something I like.
Yeah, it checks out.
Like I went real hard on Star Trek for like months. And then I got into, my whole goal was to get to Next Generation. And then I got into Next Generation, got 6 episodes in and went, this season sucks. And I haven't gone back to it in like 2 months.
We started the show Hunters on Prime. And the first episode was really good, but it was long. It's only an hour, but it felt really long. And then I was like, maybe the next episode will be a little more, a little more brisk. Nope, very long. And it's only 8 episodes long, I believe, but it feels like we've been watching it for years. Like it's a very poorly paced show. The plot is interesting, the acting's fine. Ben, your favorite, Al Pacino, is just a delight in it.
No more Nazis. Call them Nazis.
I have a terrible accent now.
Oh God, you got to watch it for that.
I was going to say I can't do Pacino doing an accent.
No, that's that.
It's too far.
It's really hard.
Guten Glauben.
You want to join my party?
I have no idea. But tried to binge it, but it's just not the pace of the show is not conducive to that.
I'm trying to remember the last show like I successfully binged. I think it was Nathan For You, which was a couple years ago. So I don't know. I'm bad at it. Like I'm bad at life in 2020.
I don't think you are.
Thanks, Les.
I worked with a woman who she does not like movies. Just doesn't watch movies. I was flabbergasted when she told me that. I was like, well, what do you watch? And she goes, TV shows. They're shorter. I was like, oh, okay. Well, what kind of shows do you like? And she goes, oh my God, I watched like 4 episodes of this hour-long show. I'm like, wait. So you don't like movies because they're too long, but you'll watch 4 one-hour episodes of a show in a row? She's like, yeah. I'm like,
to be fair,
makes no sense.
I think for some people, processing an entire character arc in 2 hours it's like too long of a period to brush it off, but too short of a period to process it adequately. I had a discussion about this with a bunch of film students not that long ago.
I feel like I just time traveled.
Why?
I was trying to keep up with the too long to process it, not a long. I lost you. I'm sorry. I think it's
too hot to handle, too cold to hold.
Indeed.
Hot treats, cold eats? No.
Well, thank you, Les. And if you want to get on the fun, email at watchbotspod.com. Right, Shailen?
Right.
Right. I guess that's about it. Cops.
Cops.
Cops. That's all I got.
Show. Check it out. Shailen, anything profound you want to leave us with?
I got nothing.
Jesus. Why did I ask?
I don't know.
You can follow us on Twitter.
Stay off the streets, kids.
Save it for the close. Instagram, Jiffy, at WatchBotsPod. Please subscribe, rate, and review. 5 stars! iTunes or Spotify, or I actually don't even know that you can rate on anything that's not iTunes. Anyway, for Dave and for Shailen, this is Ben. Thank you for listening to another episode of WatchBots, and until next week...
Prepare to be fucked by the long arm of the law.
Oh, good God.
No.
That's dystopian. Stay off the streets. Don't do drugs. What else?
And stay hydrated.
And wear gloves.
Dare to stay away from drugs.
And get fucked.
I never said that.
You just did.
Oh, I know how to finish it. To steal a line from our greatest movie, The Dark Knight. No more dead cops.
No more dead cops.
Mount the curb.
Goodbye.
DJ, drop a beat. That's right, Gotham.
On your feet, to the lyrical flow of Bane.
Bane, yes, that's my name. When you hear the name Bane, I guarantee the pain. I'm coming after you, Bruce Wayne. I'm stronger, smarter, clinically insane. I'm Bane, that's my name. Bruce Wayne is the Batman and totally the same. I broke his back, Mortal Kombat smack. Then I cracked my 28 Krug champagne. Who likes hip-hop?
I heard Gotham City was all right.
I'm Bane, yes, it's a shame. I declare martial law and you all complain. I laugh when you ask why I wear the mask. I'll explain. It's because I'm Bane. Yes, that's my name. You say it to him, what's the name becomes a name. Of course, something my plan lacks gain. You say it to my face, I'll crash your plane. When I say no, you say survivals. No. No. When I say no, you say survival. You suck, Bane. Who said that? Wait. Stop the music.